This is Linda Cohn from ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
And here we go, another episode of the ML Sports Platter. All over the major platforms like Spotify, Google, Apple, Stitcher, and Deezer. You know what to do. Download, subscribe. Those feedback posts and the 5-star reviews, they do help an awful lot. So please do those to help spread the word. We are brought to you by the Allen Angus Pub, home of the best darn Angus burger in town. If you're in and around Central New York, get there for the burgers, the wraps, you name it. Great beers on tap as well. Allen Angus Pub, the official pub of the ML Sports Platter. For more, visit allenanguspub.com and like them on Facebook. A tip of the cap thank you as well to the Whitaker and Swan families, Welch & Company Jewelers, Stanley Law Offices, and our good friends over at Ken's Auto Detailing. Log on now to their Facebook page. Check out all their awesome specials. Ken's Auto Detailing, inside, outside. They have the ceramic coating. Get your car detailed today. Let me tell you, when you drive off the lot, you literally feel like you have a brand new car. Let's bring in the terrific ESPN anchor and studio host. He's on Twitter at Kev Connors ESPN. And for more on Kevin and ESPN, go ahead and visit ESPN.com, of course. Kevin Connors, thanks so much for a few minutes here. Let's go around sports a little bit and chat about the latest and greatest in ESPN land, and, of course, a little Yankee baseball, some Bills schedule, and a little bit more right up your alley, and some college basketball in my Bonnies, buddy. How are you?
Mike, I'm doing great. It's great to talk with you again.
So it's just amazing, isn't it, watching games again with fans? I mean, there was a point during the long time, and I know I had you on during this, where it was, are we going to get him back? When are we going to get him back? And, we'll get used to watching games without fans. Don't worry. I'm sorry. You flip it back on, it's completely different. When you throw on a game with two Canadian teams in hockey in the postseason, and then you throw on the Hurricanes and Lightning, for example, Kevin, it's a completely different world. The fans are back, and it feels good.
Right, and it felt like it kind of just happened. Like, hey, look, there's a full stadium again, and I think in the early stages, Mike, we were just so happy to have sports back, right? Sure. Any kind of normalcy. Hey, wow, we're playing games with recognizable athletes who we cheer for or boo, or teams, and whatever the case is. And then after a while, look, again, we'll take a World Series without fans or with minimal fans because it's a World Series. We'll take these games in the Orlando bubble because what other choice do we have? But listen, even a Knicks game, right? Whether you're a Knicks fan or not, it's undeniable that New York is an amazing basketball town, and Madison Square Garden is a special place. And so you watch a Knicks playoff game with fans there again, and you're like, man, did we, like you said, did we miss this? This is great to have again. So, boy, it's incredible the small things that we take solace in. Something as simple as having fans back in stadiums, but like you said, there's nothing like it.
This Yankee team, I think that they are who they are at this point. I mean, you can't even use small sample size. Built too much on power, can't get the key hits with guys on base. The pitching actually has been unbelievable, shockingly, outside of really Tyone, who's got a pretty high ERA. But I just don't think they're made for the postseason. I think this is who they are. That White Sox series was great in May. They took 2 or 3 from Tampa, but then they get swept by Detroit and they lose games. They lost that Sunday game against Baltimore. I think it was 10-6. It was a horrible loss. Is this who they are through your eyes? I mean, even if they get better, how much better can they get? Is there going to be any change in the playoffs if they make it? What's your state of the Yankees here, Kevin?
It's such a deep answer, Mike, because listen, who the Yankees are right now in early June is not who they're going to be in September. We know that. They're going to add pieces. Now, is it going to be Trevor's story, as Jeff Passan floated to me as a potential option for the Yankees? Now, I'm not sure that they're going to go that route. They could. Can the Yankees bring Trevor's story on and then sign him to the kind of contract that he's going to get in the offseason, given the current financial situation that they have with a couple of guys who are making that kind of money already on long-term deals, I don't know. I guess if anyone can do it, it's the Yankees, but I'm not sure they're going to. But we know that they're not going to be the team that plays in the playoffs that they are right now, okay? So that's number one. Are they going to be dramatically different? Maybe not dramatically different. Are they going to get the pitching that they've gotten so far? You're right. The pitching has been outstanding.
Unbelievable.
Kluber, before he got hurt, was way more than you could have wanted. Tyone has not been great, as you said, but Mikey's pitched, which again is more than I think a lot of people thought he would do. Make every start. Obviously, Cole has been outstanding. Herman, who I'm not particularly a fan of, given what's happened off the field. Herman's been really good. The bullpen's been really good. The hitting blows hot and cold. I don't get too worked up myself over a series sweep in Detroit in May. That to me, the Yankees are not that team. I think they had a bad weekend. Now, is it disturbing that they don't hit on a regular basis? That is. Mike, I'll tell you what the most disturbing thing about this team is to me. The fact that they've got 25 or 26 outs on the bases, most in baseball, and the fact that they hit into the most double plays in baseball, and the fact that they strike out a lot. Those are three things to me that are real problems that are obviously rally killers. They don't have too many rally starters on the team. Those are the more troubling things to me than losing an off-weekend series in Detroit, frankly. But look, are they capable of getting hot and making a run and being as good as anyone in the American League? Yeah, they are. Or are they capable of losing in a short wild card series? There's no question.
The base paths, it's deplorable. I mean, there's so many examples I can bring up. You think about the game against Tampa, the Frazier walk-off. In that game, I mean, Gary Sanchez is on second base, and I think Andujar's up, and he hits a ball. I mean, Kevin, this is like routine Little League stuff, man. The guy's on second base, the ball's getting hit right to the shortstop. You wait and you go back to second until the throw is made. You don't take off on contact, especially not having two outs. These examples are just so crazy. It almost seems like this team also, Clint Frazier this year at times forgets how to play baseball. Gary Sanchez with errors across the board, and I've had enough of the guy to begin with. Plus all the injuries, plus there's just so much carelessness. It almost comes from the top on down. Do you see this team and just not a lot of, I don't know, they just don't seem like they're in it, their heads are in it, and they're having fun playing the game? They just seem kind of like out there.
And I wonder what that's a product of. I can't pin it on Aaron Boone. Now, everyone bears some responsibility, and I'm not absolving Aaron of all of it, but I'm also not laying it all at his feet. These are major league players. There have been some moves to try to hold players accountable, but at some point, you can't bench guys forever.
Right.
The roster is what it is, and it's not like in college basketball where you can say so-and-so doesn't know the system, he's not running the plays, he's not giving maximum effort, coach so-and-so needs to bench him. It's not like that in professional sports, and certainly not in baseball. Now, you could sit a guy for a game or two and try to send a message. Extended periods, it doesn't happen. A guy like Clint Frazier, it's mystifying because it's not just the legendary bat speed that everyone's talked about. We've seen him perform and at times carry this team in years past with his hitting. That hasn't happened yet. Prior to the game against Tampa Bay where he hits the walk-off home run. That's disturbing. The stuff on the bases drives you nuts. The fielding, Gleyber Torres in the field sometimes. I said in the offseason, the move that I wanted the Yankees to make was to go get Andrelton Simmons.
That's who I wanted too. Yep.
Play him at short.
That's what I wanted.
He's a steady glove. He's not going to make any mistakes. If you get anything from him at the plate, it's gravy. You play Gleyber at second, so he doesn't have to worry about fielding probably the most important defensive position on the field outside of catcher. and then you play LeMahieu at first, and you get whatever you get. I would have traded Voit, but that's me.
Yep, me too.
But of course, this doesn't happen, and now the situation is what it is. And it's the fielding mistakes and the base running mistakes, which, Mike, are largely controllables, and those are the things that bother me the most about this team right now. And I suppose on some level they're correctable, but it's disturbing that a team like the Yankees in June is still making those mistakes.
What's crazy about Glaber, too, is when the Yankees, I thought Cashman finally had it figured out. When they traded Chapman and Andrew Miller in 2016, and they got a bulk of prospects, including Clint Frazier from Cleveland, they get Glaber Torres from the Cubbies. I'm saying, okay, here we go. Like, he's finally got it. He knows they need to be retooled. They arrived a little bit early, and then he goes and gets Stanton. And in that acquisition, they trade Starlin Castro, to Miami, and also made an excuse like, well, hey, we had to do that. I mean, twofold, right? Like it was too easy. It was too good to pass up to get Giancarlo Stanton. He's an MVP. Come on, I'll bet the guy's going to be great. Well, no, because a lot of it has to do with the fit, number one. Number two is well, hey, guess what we also did in this trade? We made room for Glaber Torres. He can just come right up now. There's no roadblock. We don't have to battle and platoon with two players. Kevin, Glaber doesn't even play second base at this point. And so that part of that trade has also gone down the toilet.
I think the Stanton trade, as you said, this is too good to be true. We're getting this guy for 50 cents on the dollar. I think it was at the time where where organizations were falling in love with the launch angle, exit velo, home runs are the way to win. And so I think that it was, let's jump and get this guy. And listen, there have been times, as we've seen, where Stanton is as electric as any hitter in baseball. I mean, last postseason was unbelievable. And we've seen it at times here this season. And then there are the inevitable endless trips to the IL. How long can you count on having him for, or how many times can you strike out at a big spot? And listen, I hate to say it, Yankee fans are just going to have to live with this for the next 6-7 years because that's what it's going to be, and it's going to hamstring you from making trades. I think like a Trevor Story,
sure,
where that would be a logic. In years past, that George would have gotten Trevor Story, and he would have given up the prospects, and you would have paid him for the big term contract. But listen, at some point you're going to have to pay Aaron Judge. The Yankees aren't going to let Aaron Judge walk. I got news for you. They're going to keep him in the mix. Now, I don't know if it's going to be on a 12-year, $350 million deal. It's not going to be. But the Yankees are not going to let Aaron Judge walk. They've got Garrett Cole lined up $300 million. You're in the middle of a $300 million deal with Stanton.
Look at the Hicks contract. He's on the books for another, 4 or 5 years at astronomical money.
You're tied up in a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, the Trevor Story thing sounds great. And would he help this team in 2021? Yeah, but are you gutting your system to get that guy and then not paying him? Or are you paying him and locking up another guy to a huge contract? I'd be awfully surprised.
There's no doubt. And I think that it's really disturbing, too. I mean, all these guys, again, they're getting injured. Voigt's hurt. Hicks is gone for the year. Stanton's had the injury problems already. I don't know. I think what you said earlier is interesting because I actually do think this is who this team is. Even though it's June. Are they going to be the exact same team in September, a team that's, going to get swept by the time? No. But I think that this version, you look at all these players, and they're all like little examples of what the team really is as a whole. It's a splash here, a splash there, a classic walk-off win against Tampa, beating the White Sox, but then, in 3, and then getting swept by Detroit, and everything kind of in between just doesn't seem to come together. Stanton's good for 3-4 games, and he's bad for 20 games. Like, I actually happen to think that this is the team that is here to stay in 2021 and possibly beyond, and therefore, in the playoffs, they're not built the right way to win every single day. They're not built, to win and make that deep run. They're not built that way.
That's fair. Here's what I would say, and I don't entirely disagree with you, but here's what I would say as a counterpoint to that. Who in the American League is?
Well, that's the other that's one thing I brought up this year is that the door is open for the Yankees. The window is open for the Yankees because the American League is so down. I'll tell you there's two teams probably. Tampa's one of them. I mean, Tampa just keeps figuring it out. And I actually think Houston, even though they're a few games over 500 as we record this, I think Houston is going to be there in the end. Those are the two teams I would give you.
And both of those are quite possible. And, if we're playing this back in October, would I be surprised if either one of those teams make the World Series? I wouldn't. But I'll also tell you this. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if either one of those teams bowed out in the wild card round. In other words, now I'm not buying the Red Sox as being as good as they've been for the first 2 months. I mean, I think Alex Cora is a phenomenal manager, and he's a wonderful guy. Things have happened. I know that and that's it's indefensible. I know Alex. He is a sweetheart of a guy, and he's obviously a tremendous manager. I don't know that the Red Sox have the pitching to carry this for the next 4 or 5 months, okay? Or 4 months, I guess. The Rays are good. They're such a well-run organization. But do they sustain it again and make a deep run into October? I don't know about that. The White Sox are good, but listen, they've had injuries, right? I mean, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez not coming back this year. So can they sustain that through us? So in other words, what I'm getting at is there's no team in the American League that's running away with it. There's no team that you say there's no way the Yankees can beat them. I think the Yankees are capable of making a World Series run as much as they're capable of being eliminated early on, and I think that's true of just about every contender in the American League.
ESPN's Kevin Connors, our guest here on the ML Sports Platter. Give him a follow on Twitter. Of course, at Kev Connors, ESPN. Before we get to the Bills' 2021 schedule and some other things going on with our beloved football team, what's the latest and greatest? ESPN. Obviously, I catch you quite a bit on the big screen. A lot of studio hosting, right, these days?
It is. It's it's my approach is tell me where to go and I'll be there, and I'll give you maximum effort, and I'll do the very best job I can, and hope that that's as good as most. I got to call a major league game the other day. I had Twins-Orioles from Baltimore.
That's right.
14th consecutive loss for the Orioles. Fortunately, they ended that streak. I really have enjoyed calling baseball games. It's a totally different speed, obviously. It's a lot more storytelling. It's a lot more conversational. It's been a lot of fun. Primarily, I am in studio, like you said, whether it's halftime of college football or college basketball games or doing in-game updates on Major League Baseball, sports centers here and there. So kind of, have Mike will travel, if you will. And I it's the opportunities that are available at ESPN are fantastic. And trust me, I'm not telling you that every single day is a celebration, but most of the time you walk into that building and you say, man, I am lucky to be here, and I don't take any of it for granted.
By the way, I got to ask you this. What do you see when you watch Vlad Jr. play baseball?
A supreme hitter. A guy who, like his dad, hits balls well that most can't get to. I hope that as a Yankee fan, I don't want to see him succeed, but as a fan of baseball, obviously I do. And I hope that this is the version of Vlad in terms of fitness that we get throughout his career. To me, he had ballooned to a point where you say, whoa, this is a young guy. And, with all the injuries there seem to be to stars in baseball these days, how long can you continue doing that? So he's obviously addressed that. He's trimmed down. He's been fantastic. Mike, how many I'm not talking good, how many great young stars are there in baseball right now? And just take a look at the home run leaders, and it's like every one of the guys at the top of baseball right now are under the age of 26.
Yeah. Yep.
So I hope it continues from a baseball fan standpoint, because he can do things with the bat. He can hit the ball places that most human beings can't.
I saw him hit a ball in Syracuse a couple years ago, standing behind home plate. It was in between when I had to go out and do on-field stuff. He gets up there. Every time he was up, I tried to just freeze, and just even for the work and the job that I had to do, people would be asking me questions or something. I'd be like, God, could you just Vlad's up? Like, can we just hold on a second? But, but in this particular spot, I was frozen. Nobody was bothering me. I just watched, and he hit a ball. I'm telling you, the sound of the bat on the ball, he hit a ball to right center field. It was an absolute cannon shot, soars over the wall, and the wall is deep in Syracuse. It's like 400 feet maybe to center field, and left and right center are deep as well. And it goes over the greenway, and it just goes over like the trees, and it just disappeared. Unbelievable.
The quick story that I can tell you about him is this. 2 summers ago, I was fortunate. I got to cover the All-Star game in Cleveland.
I was there.
And he was part of the home run derby. And, obviously there are tons of major leaguers on the field, and they're watching it. And, I'm sitting like 15, 20 feet away from Clayton Kershaw and, players of that ilk, right? And everyone's watching, of course. There's spectators there. But there was a different level of attention when Vlad was hitting the ball. And like you said, the sound was different.
Oh.
And like when that happens, that when peers are paying that close attention, you're watching something special. And he's that. He really is. And that Blue Jays team, if they can ever find pitching, that is a loaded lineup. They really are fun to watch.
They are. And I mean, I love, Bichette, Biggio, and Vlad Jr. all came through, Buffalo. I had an opportunity to see them, to cover them. And, look, I mean, they're fathers. You mentioned Vlad Sr., and Biggio and Bichette, 2 of the 3 are in the Hall of Fame. And they just, you learn at an early age how to be a professional. Patrick Mahomes is doing the same thing right now. His dad was a professional baseball player. These guys learn from their dads. They're around the atmosphere, around the clubhouse. They see the work ethic. And once they get into that, 10, 11, 12, they're all in. They're buying in. I think that's a big part of it, growing up in it and it being a part of your life, a fabric of your life. That's a big deal, watching dad wanting to be, not necessarily dad, but like, hey, look at the professionalism. If I'm going to make it, I got to do what dad's doing. And I think that's a huge, huge part of it.
And the genetics don't hurt.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's wrap up quick on the Bills. Man, I know how fired up you are for the season. I am as well. Expectations are through the roof. Give me a little bit on the schedule here. What do you like? What do you dislike? There's not much I dislike on the schedule outside of the early bye here, Kevin.
What concerns me a little bit is if we're not ready to go, or if there's a training camp injury, we hit the ground running. And by that, I mean, there's obviously, there are no homecoming games in the NFL. Even the bad teams, quote unquote, are tough to beat. That's just the way the modern NFL is set up. But 3 of the first 4 games are home games. And as you know, Mike, in the NFL, you have to win your home games.
Mm-hmm.
So we better be ready to go in week 1 against Pittsburgh, because after that you got a division game in Miami and then 2 more home games.
That's
and
right.
Again, if you say, well, we didn't play well today, or so-and-so was banged up, or we were a little sloppy out of the gates, then you're swimming upstream to get back in it. Now, having said that, I mean, when's the last time, as Bills fans, we went into a season with this level of expectation?
I'm telling you.
Even last year, it was, I think we can be good. I think we can win the division this year.
Sure.
And this year, we're going to win the division. I think we can win the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's a different.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah, it really is.
And Mike, guess what? Like, I welcome that. Thank God.
Me too.
thank God. I like being in this position. Lord knows we were in the other position for long enough. So thank God we're in this position. Thank God we can say, let's not be afraid to have expectations. And I could spend the next half hour telling you how much this regime has done virtually everything right. I am such a fan of Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, the way that they've been allowed to do things, but the way that they've done things, it's been. We've waited long enough for it, but thank God we've got the regime in place that we do.
I like the idea of bringing the band back together, too, don't you? I mean, why not give it another shot with these guys who know each other, love each other, one game away from the Super Bowl, cohesion, chemistry. You've got a little bit more of a normal schedule this year. You're going to have a training camp. You have OTAs. You have rookie camp. You know what? Like, bring the band back together. Get these guys back. Get Williams back, Feliciano back, Milano back, McKenzie back. Trust in Dawson Knox. I like that. And these guys coming in, Russo and Basham and company, I think they're going to be studs. You know what? Get the rookies in. Get them to learn the Bills' way and what this regime has been all about. But by doing that, you've got the guys who did it last year, and that's just 1 year removed from, a game, one win away from reaching the Super Bowl. I love the fact they're bringing the band back together.
3/4 away from winning the Super Bowl, right?
That's true.
I mean, we played so well in the first quarter in Kansas City. Yeah, and look, Mike, that sends a message to the rest of the locker room that, we are investing in the guys who we brought on board, who helped us get to this point. I really like that. I don't think, by the way, that the Bills are done making moves. Obviously, they cleared a little cap space yesterday. I've seen people who have been saying, let's go get Julio Jones. I don't know that that's the kind of move that the Bills are going to make. It's never really been Brandon Beane's MO. Even the Diggs trade, that wasn't the kind of move that a Julio Jones move would be at this point. And the Diggs trade obviously was transformational for the organization. I mean, he's been exceptional with the Bills. Was exceptional a season ago, but I don't see them going and getting Julio Jones. I do see them potentially going and getting a veteran tight end, possibly like a Zach Ertz, or seeing what happens in camp and laying low, and then maybe going and getting someone prior to the start of the season. But listen, the front office has done things the right way, in my opinion, from the jump. Getting rid of guys who were very high draft picks, who at the time Bills fans were saying, why are we trading this guy? Well, guess what? It wasn't working with those individuals. What we got back enabled us to get the stars that we have right now. I'm so on board with everything that. And one last thought. People have said to me, hey, what do you think about the Bills draft? What kind of grade would you give the Bills draft? And I'm saying to myself, listen, I would be bald-faced lying to you if I told you I watched a lot of Greg Russo in college individually, okay? I'm aware of him. I'm aware of Boogie Basham. I did not watch copious amounts of tape on these guys while they were playing college football. But here's my answer. I trust Brandon Beane, okay? So if he felt those were the guys to go get, I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with it as well. You know what? I have to sneak in something. Give me 1 minute on the Bonnies. I know how hard you are into the college basketball. You got that great segment as well. You highlight a lot of the mid-majors, the small schools. My Bonnies, you want to talk about expectations for the Bills. This is the most anticipated basketball season for St. Bonnie in decades upcoming. I mean, there's a chance here coming off another tournament win. They won the A-10 regular season title. They won the tournament title. The chance people are, they're going to be in the top 15 or 20 in the preseason rankings, Kevin, and people think they could be a team that could make a Final Four run next March. Can the Bonnies handle the expectations?
We're about to find out. That is a really, really good league that they play in. I think, from the mid-major level, which you're right, I love digging in on that. The Atlantic 10 is a really good league, so they will be tested. It will not if they get to that point, it won't be easy. But I think it's so funny when you see all these big time jobs open up and the candidates that are floated around. And one name I said, I'm like, teams won't do it because he's not 35. If you wanted to really hire a guy at a Power 5 school to take over and have a major impact, it would be Mark Schmidt. And, the job that he's done there at the school has been fantastic. To be able to get that level of talent at a mid-major level conference, at a program that is not a traditional mid-major powerhouse. It's a good program. It's not a traditional powerhouse mid-major program. I think it's fantastic. He continues to go and get guys. I love it. And guess what? It's putting some pressure on the other team that we root for in upstate New York and Syracuse, because you're right. We may be going into next season with St. Bonaventure ranked higher than Syracuse. That's saying something.
And by the way, there's no, Mark Schmidt. Power 5 program. Don't do that. Don't listen to Kevin. Just stay where you are. Keep screwing up the hires. Just leave Mark Schmidt alone. Leave him an Olean. You don't need to hire him. That's not a good move. Don't push that one. By the way, the Bonnies, their out-of-conference schedules, we record this, just came down from John Rothstein of CBS Sports. They've added Northern Iowa for a home-and-home series next season in Olean, and they've got Vatech on the schedule this year, too. So the out-of-conference slate looks really, really good. ESPN's Kevin Connors. Give him a follow on Twitter, at Kev Connors, ESPN. Kevin, this was amazing, as I expected. Great to have you back, and continued success your way.
Mike, same to you, man. Anytime. I always enjoy chatting with you.
The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by Stanley Law Offices, Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, and Rosie's Corner. Pizza, wings, pasta, hot and cold subs, and more. If you're in and around Central New York, stop by for lunch and dinner and Fish Friday every week on Grubhub, Facebook, and Instagram. Go follow the social pages as well. Rosie's Corner, by the way, is also hiring. So go check out the Facebook page there if you need a job in Central New York. Right in front of the Brewerton Bridge, Rosie's Corner, a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. Big tip of the cap, thank you as well to CNY Electrical and Prestwick Golf. Kevin Connors, ESPN, amazing. And as I always tell you, enjoy the games.